Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna. So today we are very fortunate to have association of His Grace Govind Prabhuji. I will just like to give a brief introduction about Prabhu. Many of you would be knowing Prabhuji. Prabhuji is a very senior disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Charuswami Guru Maharaj, and Prabhu came in contact in Krishna consciousness in 1985, and he got Guru, initiation from Srila Guru Maharaj in 1987 when at Sri Mayapur, France, New Mayapur at France, and Prabhu had a wonderful opportunity to serve Srila Guru Maharaj from 1996 to 1999 as a traveling secretary of Guru Maharaj. And like in BCS WhatsApp group, we are daily receiving so many photos of Srila Guru Maharaj old pics that all being shared by Govind Prabhu. These were the very rare pics which was taken by Prabhu during Abhacharan shooting. So there are a lot of memories that Prabhu had, and we have today very special opportunity to hear from Prabhu. So we would like to welcome Prabhu in this session of Guru Maharaj Remembrance. We will welcome Prabhu by chanting one time Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for kindly letting me speak today. It's a great honor and always very uplifting to be able to speak about Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj, our dearest Guru Maharaj. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantik Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Nityanamini Snikta Cheta Supraneta Vagminachara Sapatam Prabhupada Katha Prana Nomi Bhakti Chirupadam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shundavadi Vashkyata Deshatari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I like to start with the episode of Srila Prabhupada. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked by an interviewer how to recognize a follower of this Hare Krishna movement. How would he behave and how is he to be recognized by the people in general? So then Prabhupada replied simply that he will be perfect gentleman. You won't find any fault in him. So this is a very simple but very meaningful description of a Vaishnava. And I find it very befitting for Srila Guru Maharaj. Because that was the impression I got when I first met Guru Maharaj. Like whatever I read in Prabhupada's books, I could see that Guru Maharaj is the perfect personification of this. He was just simply the perfect gentleman, very lovingly very caring, and very personally. He would deal with each and everyone. It doesn't matter who he was, whether he was a devotee long time in a movement, or he was just a new person, or just somebody on the street. Guru Maharaj always would be very, very personal, very lovingly. So, like one of the most striking achievements, I would say, Guru Maharaj, to me, Guru Maharaj manifested while he was with us. I would like to speak on some of them. At that time, when Guru Maharaj took over the responsibility of Guru, as well as the responsibility of the GBC, it was in '87 that he came to Europe and took over responsibility for Belgium. At that time, he was spending a lot of time in the Radha Desh. As well, also, he started to come to Switzerland. So, one of the first achievements or the first inputs he gave was he put a lot of stress of Vaishnav etiquette. Naturally, he was the personification of perfect Vaishnav. And so he was the person to actually teach his knowledge how a Vaishnav would behave. In that time, he was requested by some of his god brothers to give some classes on Vaishnav etiquette. In the beginning, especially in Europe, some devotees found it a little, well, Vaishnav etiquette. Is it that important? Isn't the most important thing just to preach? Especially from the zone where I came, Harikesh Maharaj's zone. Book distribution was the main goal, and every serious devotee who wanted to be successful in his spiritual life was to go out and distribute as many books as possible. But very soon, actually, devotees would recognize how important Vaishnav etiquette is. And Guru Maharaj also would stress it many times. Actually, if you look back, he also mentioned that many times. Vaishnav etiquette is the basis of spiritual life. We have to understand that unless and until we adopt the qualities of a Vaishnava, or rather say, the real goal of spiritual life is to adopt the qualities of a Vaishnava. And Guru Maharaj could actually sense that a lot of difficulties which different devotees and also ISKCON at large was facing at that time was due to, or was also due to, the dealings amongst the devotees itself. Sometimes one could get the impression that more importance was giving to attaining different results instead of trying to stress the unity amongst devotees and the communication, and finally the cooperation amongst the devotees. Guru Maharaj always used to say that it is very important in a Vaishnava society. He compared it to a family, that the youngers look up to the elders in respect, and vice versa. The elders would then take care, affectionate of the juniors, and through that actually the mercy flows down from the senior to the juniors. He always put utmost importance that whenever he was around and he was together with his god brothers, that his god brothers also would be respected the same as we gave respect to him. Many times he was very emphatic on that point. Because we have to understand that in this material world, for everything, there is a quest for structure. Because unless until there is structure, it will be chaos. And we all know what the result of chaos is. Finally, it's ignorance, and the result will be destruction. Nothing will come from chaos. In a similar way, we can see, like the example can be given, like when modern scientists want to prove that everything came from chaos, or the Big Bang theory. In a similar way, Prabhupada used to refute that, and also Guru Maharaj used to many times bring the example. One English gentleman gave that think that this material world just came out of a Big Bang is the same as stating that the Webster dictionary just have come into existence by a big blow up in the printing press, and that all the different letters fell into order, and through that the Webster dictionary was printed. So everybody can understand how ridiculous it is to assume that from chaos or from a Big Bang order would come. No, it's the other way around. It's actually the order and the structure which enables us to be successful in our endeavors. So in a similar way, we also have to understand in spiritual life, there is also a structure and there is order. And the more we are able to follow that order or to implement that order, the more successful we will be. Very practically, we can see, the more we are able to communicate and cooperate, the more successful we will be in our Krishna consciousness, especially in spiritual life. Prabhupada used to bring the example that 1 and 1 is not only 2. In the spiritual concept, it's 11. And 1 plus 1 plus 1 is not 3, but is 111. So in that way, we can see in the spiritual realm, there is a far bigger potential in unity than we may expect. There was also once an incident. Guru Maharaj was in London. He was invited to a breakfast, and there were different devotees. And then there was the recollection, the Bhaktivedanta Manor players, they staged the play. And in that play, so the different devotees convey to Guru Maharaj, it was about a sannyasi who was doing different kinds of unfavorable things. And in that way, actually, sort of like it was a paraphrase of a bogus guru who would just exploit his followers. So when Guru Maharaj heard that, he wasn't happy at all. And he said that why we shouldn't do that, because there is, and that structure shouldn't be taken lightly. It even came to the point, because different devotees wanted to pacify the situation and telling that it was not meant like that, it was rather in a jolly mood trying to convey some humor. But Guru Maharaj wouldn't give in, even up to the point where he just stopped and got up and left the room. So from there we could understand how much emphasis Guru Maharaj actually puts on following these principles of order, I would say, because every society, every institution needs an order. And by following that order, the aim of the institution will be intact. Another way to look at it is also, Guru Maharaj many times pointed out, we are actually not able to see or recognize purity because it's an internal thing, and unless and until we reach that stage of purity, we won't be able to see purity from the external viewpoint. And that's why actually it is very important that Vaishnavas follow this standard of etiquette, exchanges in the community, because it's in that way for our own good, for our own protection, in order not to transgress etiquette. Because as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, like the biggest danger for a devotee is Vaishnava aparadh, or the transgression of Vaishnava etiquette, because it is just compared like a wild elephant entering into a porcelain store. What will be the outcome? He will destroy everything. So everything which was built up, can be destroyed in a fraction of a moment. So Guru Maharaj was always very, very emphatic and particular about that point. And in his own dealings, he gave the exact example to it. So in the early 90s, ISKCON faced different difficulties. One of that was also that different devotees were attracted by different Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas, experienced Vaishnavas outside of ISKCON, and they started to go and take guidance and association from these devotees. That caused some kind like disturbance in our society itself, because naturally there was a search for leadership, and because at that time some leaders experienced some difficulties in their spiritual life, there was some uncertainty in ISKCON. So Guru Maharaj was very much concerned about that fact, because we could see that the unity of ISKCON itself and the legacy of Prabhupada was somehow in danger, one could say. And at many times, Guru Maharaj actually would tell us already in the early 90s that the main reason for this happening was that there was too little emphasis given of Srila Prabhupada's extraordinary position as being the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. This was also one of the most striking experience, I could say, or revelation. Revelation is the better expression. To me, like Guru Maharaj's unconditional surrender to His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He would devote his whole life for the glorification and for the fulfillment of the service which was given directly by Srila Prabhupada to Guru Maharaj, which we all know is the translating of Prabhupada's books into Bengali. But even having received that instruction personally from Prabhupada, there were times when Guru Maharaj actually stopped translating because he felt the need to try to bring the devotees together, like especially in the ending of the 80s. Guru Maharaj himself said that from about 87 to or 88 onwards, for about 2 years, he hardly could translate because there was the need to take care of so many internal affairs in ISKCON itself. And the main point, or one of the main reasons which he gave for this happening, was the misunderstanding, or that different individuals in one way wanted to compete, one could say, or imitate the position of Srila Prabhupada. I still remember very early, like Guru Maharaj always put up, and he made the comparison that actually we are too close to Prabhupada in order to really understand his extraordinary position. He compared it like if you stand in front of a huge mountain, you can't actually figure out his greatness because you're too close. At times I would try to grasp, still I couldn't. then even out of my personal life, I can say, Guru Maharaj stressed that point that much, that he put himself behind it. He said that I'm actually just here to bring you to Srila Prabhupada. At times I was considering myself reading Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada made the very strong point that the spiritual master is the one who connects you to Krishna. He's transparent Maya media. And at times I would think, why Guru Maharaj is telling that? But at times I could understand more and more the depth of this understanding. Just the other day, I came across another example Guru Maharaj was telling, or Guru Maharaj was giving, who relates to the greatness or to the position of Srila Prabhupada. He actually made the point that once Prabhupada was asked by his disciple, who he is, because we know from our previous acharyas that they have been identified, like who is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They have been identified as different gopis in Sri Krishna's Leela. So naturally the disciple wanted to know and ask Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's question was that, if I tell you, you will faint. And then Guru Maharaj's comment to that was, so we know the identifications of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but we don't faint. So we can't actually imagine, who Srila Prabhupada really is. He must be someone very, very, very special. So Guru Maharaj was very early fully conscious of the fact that the success of ISKCON as a whole, as well as the success of us individually, lies in the recognition of Srila Prabhupada, who Srila Prabhupada actually is. Guru Maharaj always brought the point up, like, Srila Prabhupada is that person who fulfilled Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction that his holy name will spread all over the world. And as Prabhupada himself many times said, that in order to preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the message of Krishna, one has to be empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless and until one is empowered, we won't be able to achieve anything. This is the secret of success. The materialists always believe that whatever we achieve is due to our own endeavor, to our own capacities. But a devotee knows that he's not the doer, and whatever his achievement is simply the mercy and the empowerment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, in this regard also, Guru Maharaj states that the position of Srila Prabhupada is not only that he is the founder Acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. No, he is actually even more. He is the founder Acharya of a Sampradaya. We are members of the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Srila Prabhupada actually is founder Acharya of the Gaudiya, of the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, ISKCON Parampara. In this regard, Madhusevita Prabhu, very dear godbrother of Guru Maharaj, also stressed the same point. I personally think it's an important point for us to understand, because with this understanding, it's not only that our spiritual insight matures and is enriched, but also from the institutional side. It will actually help us and enable us for more cooperation in ISKCON itself. Because naturally, for every disciple, his spiritual master is the representative of Krishna. That's also what the scripture says. But in an institution where there are many gurus, so who's going to be the ultimate authority? It is naturally for every disciple, it's his spiritual master. For every disciple, his spiritual master is his divine grace. But as we also noticed, in the beginning, we used to call Guru Maharaj his divine grace. But at a certain point of time, Guru Maharaj has actually told us that this title of his divine grace is only meant for Srila Prabhupada. So why is that? Because the spiritual master is his divine grace. But at the same time, in order to keep the unity and keep the higher understanding and keep especially the structure of the institution sound, Guru Maharaj actually took that decision. Because many times he also said that in previous ages, the procedure was that the Guru would open an ashram and disciples would join the Guru in his ashram. And in that way, they would go and do service and attain perfection. But nowadays, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire was that the holy name will spread all over the world. And in order to achieve this, there is the need of an institution. And in order to keep an institution intact, there is the need of cooperation. And every institution needs a head. So, in order that that institution will stay intact, for many generations to come, there is the need of an authority who stands and heads the whole instruction, and that authority is Srila Prabhupada, as he told himself, for the next 10,000 of years. So that is a very important point for us to understand. And that is also one of, according to my understanding, one of the main teachings of Guru Maharaj, that he, amongst others, he wanted to establish firmly the position of Srila Prabhupada, because only in this way the unity in ISKCON can be maintained for many generations to come. And that also will explain or take care of the different others happenings at that time. As I stated a little before, there was a time when different individuals were looking for guidance and association outside of India, outside of ISKCON, I'm sorry. But Guru Maharaj didn't like that very much, because he also made the point, naturally, these individuals sometimes were very advanced, very scholarly, definitely very advanced Vaishnava devotees. To an extent, Guru Maharaj even made the point, it looked like they're far more advanced than the leaders in ISKCON were at that time. But Guru Maharaj's point was, being members of different maths, they wouldn't accept the authority of Srila Prabhupada. And more importantly, Guru Maharaj made the point that the comparison actually is not between them and the spiritual leaders of ISKCON, but the comparison should be taken between them and Srila Prabhupada. And Guru Maharaj was very emphatic. If you would compare, then there was no question who was the real leader or the real authority. Many times Guru Maharaj also would say, like, who actually brought all the devotees to ISKCON? Who actually made all these Western devotees? Finally, it was Srila Prabhupada. And there we can see where the empowerment lies. It's very important to see where the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the mercy of Sri Krishna flows. The mercy, the recipients of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are actually these devotees who preach the message of Sri Krishna and are able to attract the conditioned souls to devotional service. And that, without doubt, this position, this extraordinary position, is given to Srila Prabhupada. It's his books, his teachings, his institution who actually attract the devotees. Hare Krishna. So, in this way, Guru Maharaj was very emphatic to establish the extraordinary position of Srila Prabhupada, not only in ISKCON, but actually in the whole world. That's why Guru Maharaj once came across a list of the 100 most influential persons of the century. And he was very astonished that there was no mention of Srila Prabhupada. And that was actually the reason, as he said later, was his desire to make Srila Prabhupada known to the whole world through this Abhaycharan project, by producing a film project, a biography on Srila Prabhupada. Initially, he thought that he will make a movie, but then, as he recounts coming across, discussing this matter with an known film actress, Hema Malini, she actually should suggest to Guru Maharaj, why not make a serial? Because through that, more intricacies of Prabhupada lives could be projected, and it also would give him more time to embark on the project. Because that project, as we all know, the film industry is a very, very expensive encounter. Takes a lot of financial input, as well, naturally also a lot of energy. And Guru Maharaj did that single-handedly. He actually embarked on that project all alone. And practically till the end, it was only him who pushed on this movement. So I came to Guru Maharaj's service as his secretary just around that time when Guru Maharaj embarked on his film project. So it was very interesting insight to see that. And whoever was on that team would acknowledge it was also a very adventurous time. And sometimes also quite shaky, unsure. Because none of us were actually expert in that field. So even Guru Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, his father was in the film industry, but he himself naturally hadn't got all the experience. And in later stages, he actually would tell that, especially in the beginning, he had sometimes to pay quite a price, because this industry, actually wherever there is money involved, there's a lot of cheating. As Prabhupada says, this world is the world of the cheater and the cheated. So naturally, when it comes to money, that is very prevalent as well, especially also in these things. So in the beginning, there were some instances where Guru Maharaj came in contact with different firms, like which were, let's say, quite money conscious. And the main point or the main drive was just to try to get as much money out of this project rather than to try to put the focus on the product we wanted to do. But Guru Maharaj was always protected, and later also mentioned himself that he learned a lot of it, through it. But then he also said, like, this whole film project was a beautiful opportunity. He mentioned that especially in connection when there were the endeavors to bring that serial on Doordarshan, the national TV channel of India. He said that only through this project he was actually able to connect with these kind of people and preach to them. Because these sort of people who are in this kind of business, they're very materialistic. So they wouldn't be interested in any spiritual topic, just like that. But being interested in money and being exposed to a film project with a highly spiritual background, naturally, there was the chance to preach to them. And Guru Maharaj actually did it in the most wonderful way. Not everybody was receptive, but some were very receptive. And whenever there was a chance, Guru Maharaj would put most emphasis on trying to convey the spiritual message this whole project had. So through that, he came in contact with many, many big, influential personalities. So one such incident was when we were filming in Allahabad. It was just Guru Maharaj came to Vrindavan in 98. It was the second time he was filming in Vrindavan. It was April, already quite hot. So there was filming going on in Vrindavan. But then Guru Maharaj wasn't too happy because it was very difficult to find the right locations. Because nowadays, or at that time already, so many surroundings were modern. The light fittings were modern cars. So Guru Maharaj didn't want to cut down on the authenticity of the movie project, and he was looking for more authentic surroundings, backgrounds. So he decided in a spot to go to Allahabad and to cut his stay in Vrindavan, because there was some connection to a very influential family in Allahabad. They were once the half of the city belonged to them, it was said. So when we went there, they were very receptive, and they had a huge mansion which was about 150 years old, erected to the colonial English times. And they had a big room, beautiful room, which was full of authentic light fittings, a lot of pictures. Even the furniture was it just looked like a museum. And we could see even the owners were very particular that we were very careful not to break anything there. So then one day, while filming in that room, the call was to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we were there at 7 o'clock, maybe a little later, 7:15, and the doors were closed. So then we knocked, and then were told that the lady was busy doing her puja. But actually, a little later, we got the impression that they didn't open because they were afraid that there may be some unwanted persons in their property. So they waited till the respectable person came to be in charge of everything. So then everything was set up. It took quite some time because every new location always was difficult. The whole team had to adapt to the new environment and put up everything. So it took about 2-3 hours. And mind you, Allahabad was known to be even more hot than Vrindavan. When we left Vrindavan, Vrindavan was about 38. So they told Allahabad will be 41. So as the time went by, the temperature also rose, and it came about to 41 degrees outside. So now we were in that beautiful mansion, in that stunning room, and suddenly there was power cut. So, and it started to heat up because that person, even being so influential, he didn't install any backup for electricity. We were quite astonished. Neither there was any air condition at all. So the temperature just started to build up more and more. And you can well imagine, it's one thing just to be in a hot situation, relaxing, but it's another thing if you have to do something, if you have to work. So the temperature really also got on the whole team. Everybody was just sweating like anything. And then the cameraman got a little excited, and by chance he actually crashed one of the antique light shades. And when that happened, everything was just completely quiet. There was no sound. And Gumaraj said, "Whoa, Amlan, I told you. Gumaraj was very much worried and upset because he literally hammered in the information to the whole team to be very, very careful, because these are all requisites which are antique, and that it will be very, very unfortunate if there is some break, and most probably it won't be able to recover So Guru Maharaj was very upset and worried, and naturally, as soon as that sound came of the breaking, the landlord came, and he was not amused, to say the least. And Guru Maharaj naturally apologized and told him that we definitely will try to find some replacement. He also asked me to take some photos, and he said that he will look everywhere, even up to extent to visit some antique shops in London, just in order to get back, to come up, like for this damage. Anyway, this just shows a little the extraordinary pressure which was on the whole team. And not only that, it was also one of the most astonishing thing I always would recollect when I go back and wonder how Guru Maharaj would do that. Because he actually was the one who was running the whole show. He wrote the script, he was the director, he was the one to arrange everything, and also he was the person responsible for financing. As well as traveling to all these different places, Vrindavan, Allahabad, America, at the same time, next to his full-time job as being that all in one person regarding to the film project, he always used to give classes. Like in Allahabad, 3 times when we were there, every day he would give class. And at the same time, naturally, Guru Maharaj would also get excited, or show reaction if these things would happen. But still, he always would stay inside calm and stay the same. That actually shows the extraordinary spiritual power of Srila Guru Maharaj. And it's also a sign of detachment, that even amongst the biggest pressure, he was always fully aware that he's a spiritual entity, and he is not the doer. For many of us, this wasn't that easy to realize, because I'm sure many, or maybe literally all, who were at that time on the team of Abhacharan would agree on that. For us, it was at times, it was just inconceivable to cope with all of this. Okay, Hare Krishna. Maybe I stop now. I was asked to speak for 1 hour. Prema Avatar Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind association. I will just request devotees, if they have any question, they can ask. Already time is over, but if Prabhuji can accept, devotees can ask few questions they have. You can post in chat box. Prabhuji, I have just one small question, like you can share something about your initiation like it happened in 1987. It was, I think, the beginning of Guru Maharaj start giving initiations. So any specific thing you'd like to share from that last time?
He started to give initiation in Europe already in '88. So I'm not the first. I'm not the first. I'm amongst the early ones. Like, if I recall correctly, we were at that time 30. Guru Maharaj had 30 disciples, including us. Yes, we got initiation in '89. It was actually a whole group. We used to stay together in Oberagari. Murari, Yashodanandan, Balaram, Gaurasundar, Subhadra, and myself. We had some kind like a, how you say, spiritual commune, spiritual namhata. And then in '87, Guru Maharaj came to Switzerland. He heard about us and he wanted to visit us. And then he came and we were all taken by his spiritual demeanor and by his humility. So, and then in '89, we got initiated in New Mayapur. It was the time when Guru Maharaj also got involved in France. And it was the time, when there was the quest for saving New Mayapur. There were 8 of us being invited. There were the five of us from Oberagri, and there was Jamuna Devi, Manjari Devi, and Parthasarathi, who later became Guru Maharaj's first sannyas disciple, Bhakti Vijay Parivrajak Maharaj. He was an elderly businessman who actually, as Guru Maharaj said, was sent in order to save New Mayapur. He was very instrumental in saving New Mayapur. He was the person who helped Guru Maharaj very substantially in order to retrieve New Mayapur. Hare Krishna. I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, Prajit. I forgot to unmute. So thank you very much, Prajit, for your inspiring and enlightening talk and giving such a valuable association. You narrated so many pastimes from life of Guru Maharaj and with teachings. Like it's very difficult. You have spent 35 years in ISKCON and more than 30-year association of Srila Guru Maharaj, and just summing up all this in 1 hour, it's not possible. We will seek your association for more sessions. You can share more about Guru Maharaj. In this session, like you focused mainly upon how Guru Maharaj was so particular about following Vaishnava etiquette, and he wants us to uh, make any. We should learn from all this thing. And you told very nice point that how purity is not external something, and for our own protection, it is always better to follow Vaishnava etiquette. It's the biggest danger for one to fall down. So we are very indebted, Proji, for your association, and we seek your association for the sessions and also blessings, so that whatever you told and whatever Guru Maharaj expect from us, we can apply all these teachings in our practices and can continue to serve in ISKCON. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for Hare Krishna. His
Thank
grace,
you very much.
Govind Prabhu ki jai, Jagat Krishna Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai.
All
Gaur
glories to
Premanandi.
Prabhupada.